Now, in a bid to boost the defence cooperation, the United States and Japan, interestingly, have agreed to collaborate on several new ventures, including developing hypersonic and space-based weaponry, and also a new deal on sharing the cost of stationing American troops in Japan. Here's the American Secretary of State Antony Blinken giving a rundown of the plans between the two nations.
First, we'll sign a new 5-year host nation support framework
that
will invest greater resources to deepen our military readiness and interoperability. And we're launching a new research and development agreement that will make it easier for our scientists, for our engineers, and program managers to collaborate on emerging defense-related issues, from countering hypersonic threats to advancing space-based capabilities. When Japanese and American researchers bring their complementary strengths to bear, we can outcompete and out-innovate anyone.
And the American Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin, speaking from his home as he's recovering from COVID-19, has said that the US-Japan alliance was increasingly important. He was referring to the common challenges faced by both nations. The most pressing ones include Russia's military build-up along Ukraine's border, North Korea's missile launches, the latest which just occurred a few days back, and China's aggression towards Taiwan.
ルールに基づく事実上を損なう中国の取り組みが地域及び国際社会に対するさまざまな課題を提起していることへの懸念を共有しました。そしてこうした認識を踏まえて地域における安定を損なう行動を日米が共に抑止し、必要であれば対処する決意を新たにしました。台湾海峡の平和と安定の重要性についても再度確認しました。
Now, the emphasis on the hypersonic missile is a given. Russia, China and the United States are all racing to build hypersonic weapons whose speed and maneuverability make them hard to detect and deflect. North Korea has said that it has tested hypersonic missile just this week. And Japan's foreign minister has said that the 2+2 dialogues with the United States was important to counter the multifaceted challenges that the world presently presents.
For the security policy of Japan, this year, 2022, is going to be an extremely important year as a variety of strategic instruments is going to be formulated in earnest. It is quite opportune that this important year begins with Japan-US 2+2 with both secretaries. The international community is faced with fundamental and multifaceted challenges, such as the change in the strategic balance, unilateral and coercive attempt to change the status quo, abusive use of unfair pressure, and expanding authoritarian regime, among others.
All right, now to give us more insights in terms of what these talks were about and why they're important, we are joined in by our correspondent Phoebe Amoroso, who's joining us live from Tokyo. Phoebe, thank you very much indeed for joining us in this broadcast. Now, this is an interesting set of agreements that the two nations seem to have come up with, as a part of their 2+2 dialogue. Japan and the United States already share a very close defense relationship. So what has prompted them to now announce these greater engagements, especially in the field of cutting-edge space technology and space-based weapons?
Well, as you said, yes, the US and Japan already have a very strong defence alliance. They last held these 2+2 talks back in March, but since then the security situation really has changed. It's been seen as really deteriorating across the region, and we heard today both the US and Japan single out China as having a hugely destabilising effect in the East and South China Seas and the Indo-Pacific region more broadly. They said that China was undermining the rules-based order, and they're really causing a security threat. They named issues such as tensions in the Taiwan Strait. China has been increasingly assertive towards Taiwan. It's a big concern as to how China will proceed towards wanting to reunite with Taiwan. And there's also territorial disputes, a long-standing dispute with Japan surrounding the Senkaku Islands, and China has been increasingly assertive in the seas around those areas. They also mentioned today a human rights-based violation escalations in Xinjiang and Hong Kong, so really singling China out as an issue that needs to be dealt with. So that's why we're seeing these closer cooperation. In fact, one analyst I spoke to said that there's a growing realization between the US and Japan that their deterrence and response capabilities as they currently stand have not really kept pace with the change in the region and generally this shift in the balance of power. So this is why we're seeing these closer defense cooperations. Also, of course, both countries are looking towards North Korea, which launched a hypersonic missile this week, and they've announced that they will conduct a joint analysis on counter-hypersonic technology. So really, we heard today US Secretary of State Antony Blinken saying that they need to develop new tools in order to face these new challenges, and that's why we're seeing this closer cooperation between the two countries.
Indeed, and the other big agreement that was reached today appears to be this agreement on the sharing of the cost of stationing American troops in Japan. 55,000 American troops are stationed there. Under Donald Trump was like, these nations need to pay for their own security and the United States cannot be doing everything. But has anything changed under Joe Biden? Has the cooperation between Japan and the United States in terms of having American troops stationed there in any way changed, considering that Japan still has a pacifist constitution?
Well, under Joe Biden, there has been greater progress in terms of the talks as to the money that Japan pays for the US military support. There was some dispute and debate under President Donald Trump, and this is why the two countries only signed a one-year agreement. But as of today, they have a 5-year agreement in place, and it's agreed that Japan will be paying just over $9 billion over the next 5 years in order to support the US military hosting them within the country. The US is, of course, a really important defense partner for Japan, but we can also see that Japan is broadening out its defense strategy. Just this week, it signed a reciprocal access agreement with Australia, allowing both countries' military to cooperate more closely together. And this is also something that the US has been encouraging. It's increasing its defense budget quite considerably. It's surpassed the cap of 1% of GDP. It's also looking into developing strike capabilities, or certainly at least discussing this. This is quite a controversial issue, given that Japan's constitution renounces war. But fully fledged talks will be beginning in the near future as to whether it will gain its capabilities to strike enemy bases, given the shifting security situation within the region. And at the end of this year, it is scheduled to review its national security strategy, and this is long-term guidelines for its defense. So we can see that Japan is looking to really carve out its future policy, and this will be dependent on the US, but also looking broader to other partners and really diversifying its approach to defense.
Absolutely, indeed. Thank you very much indeed, Phoebe Amoroso, for joining us and getting us all those updates there. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.